Prime Minister Modi, why don't you take some questions from the freest press in the world?
If Modi had turned around that day and actually answered you that day, what's the one follow-up question you already had?
Right now, actually, I am thinking of Mr. Gandhi because he was detained. And that's, to me, shocking. An oppositional leader gets detained for participating in a peaceful protest.
Now in Delhi, thousands of students are out with the Cockroach Janta parties, and police have responded with tear gas and lathi charges. Does something like this even reaches Norway, or does it dies at the border?
The way I've gotten to know the Godi media, that there aren't that much direct criticism towards the Prime Minister himself.
Court called a spy, a Chinese agent, and a Congress operative all at once. So what allegation made you laugh the loudest?
But I did promise her that I wouldn't go to India. I think he needs to start taking questions from the press. I would definitely say the Chinese spy because it's luckily I had a two-step verification, but without that, who knows if my accounts could have actually been taken over, because people did try to target my account.
Indian media is American media on steroids. That's a very big statement, and that for our audience.
The Indian media is probably one step above the American media when it comes to hostility. At least that's how I evaluate them. I think NDTV needs to do a better job.
This is Ekta Sharma. So, May 18th, 2026, Oslo. Prime Minister Modi finishes a brief press conference and turns to leave. A voice rings out behind him. Why don't you take questions from the freest press in the world? He doesn't stop, he doesn't answer, but India does. Within days, she's trending, trolled, and threatened for asking one single question. Today, we ask her everything nobody else did. Helle Lyng, welcome to the show. Helle, before we get into Modi's movement, for the 1% of people who don't know you yet, who is Helle Lyng and what inspired you to choose journalism?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I really don't. I like to say that I'm still discovering who I am. I'm 28, worked in journalism for 5 years. I studied economics and then I studied political communication. And then I kind of fell into journalism, which I'm very happy about because it's such a privilege to work within that type of work. And I really feel like the work we do is useful in advancing society here in Norway. And yeah, I encourage anyone that wants to pursue journalism to do it because it might not be the best paid job you can have, but it's a job that is always interesting, always something new.
So take me back to May 18th. Walk me through it minute by minute, where you asked a question to PM Modi. What was going through your head that moment you decided, I'm asking this question right now?
I think because, as we all know, probably by now, there weren't any setup for questions. So for me and editorially, when you know there's not going to be any questions and you're kind of having to interrupt what the setup is that day. So for me, it was just about finding the best timing, which I knew wouldn't be ideal anyway. And I knew that there was going to be just 1 or 2 seconds where I could try to ask a questions and maybe get a response. And that's usually right after hands are shook. And here, as kind of what I thought in advance, I thought he would be going out the door quite quickly after they shook hands, which was where he was going towards. So it was mostly timing because I could never imagine it unfolding the way it did afterwards. For me, it was more okay, I'm going to try to ask a question that's important, that or at least that I think is important, and see if he answers. I don't expect him to answer given what I knew at that moment about how he usually don't take time for the press, but you always have to try. And then of course, maybe if I knew how it would have unfold, something else would be going through my mind at that time.
So you have said that Modi just kept walking. In that silence, what did you feel? Was it embarrassment or vindication or something else entirely?
No, I think after a certain time as a reporter, you and I worked as a reporter for 5 years, and this was probably my third week in the job as a commentator. So now I do more commentary journalism. But I think after this many years, I've gotten very comfortable with rejection. And I think you have to be that to be a journalist too. So I don't sit with too much of my own emotions in these moments. It's very much a full focus on the task at hand. And I knew I was going to go back to my editorial and start writing about the day, anyways. So, but I went back, and on the way back, I posted that clip on X, and then suddenly I have a whole new, whole new story unfolding on almost the other side of the planet.
So that brings me to my next question. If Modi had turned around that day and actually answered you that day, what's the one follow-up question you already had?
Well, that's a good question. I think for me, follow-up questions, I usually don't like to settle follow-up questions before I hear the answer, because I think the follow-up question should be built on the answer. But I did have other questions in mind that day. One was about human rights, but I'm kind of glad that I went with press freedom, because I know a lot more about press freedom in general and how it works in fully developed democracies. Versus as if I had gone with, for example, human rights violation, it would solely be based on the international reports and the news uh, that I read from India. And I think for me to sit through all these interviews, I've been much more comfortable with the press freedom defending that question than I would with the human rights violations, just because I haven't been on ground in India. So there's so many very specific scenarios in India that or violations that have unfolded for years, that I think there's so many more people that are much more knowledgeable about than me.
You posted a clip thinking that it might reach some people in India, but it actually hit 11 billion views. So, what is it like watching the number climb in real time?
A little bit terrifying. At one point I was like, is it gonna stop anytime now? Just, anytime. Because I thought maybe it would be more of a, because very early on, some reporters in India saw it. So I thought maybe it was going to be more of a industry discussion. But then I just kept seeing the millions, and then I was kind of a little bit nervous to even look at the X app. And then also, more terrifyingly, messages start popping up in WhatsApp and in my email with interview requests, which of course I'm used to being the one sending the interview requests. So it was weird to see it from the other side. But I'm also grateful for that experience, because I do think it even can help sharpen me as a journalist to know how it's like on the other side of a media scandal.
You got called a spy, a Chinese agent, and a Congress operative all at once. So, what allegation made you laugh the loudest? Honestly, tell me about this.
I would definitely say the Chinese spy because it's just a little funny. Also, it was funny in the moment because to me, I just it was a little bit crazy to also see how unprepared I was myself for such a big digital targeted campaign on my accounts. So then to know that I luckily I had a two-step verification, but without that, who knows if my accounts could have actually been taken over? Because people did try to target my accounts by making me. I was suspended for a while from Meta, and yeah, so then having so little control and then at the same time having those allegations were kind of funny. But yeah, that one was just weird. And it's but it's also a little bit tragic that some people will come with these false allegations and just without any documentation. It would have been one thing if they worked on this story for weeks and were able to prove that, oh, Helle Lyng, she is actually a Chinese spy, and we have this and this too. We we have her in Xi Jinping's office the day before, like no, not that that would ever happen, but there you have a story. But these were just very um, crazy statements by people who have no idea what they're talking about.
On a related note, Hella, your mother got worried about your safety after your number and address got leaked. What was the conversation with like her?
Oh, I think it was a little bit, of course, for her to see it all unfolding. It also became news in Norway among both national and more regional newspapers. So, and she also saw the comments, not everyone, but a lot of them, and she saw the nasty comments. And obviously, I don't think any mother wants to see someone threaten their daughter. And I tried to calm her down and just be like, this is internet hatred. It rarely goes anywhere. And also, it rarely goes anywhere when it involves having to buy a plane ticket from one side of the world to the other. So it's very far-fetched to believe that someone would come here and injure me, but I did promise her that I wouldn't go to India this year. Just I have to wait to see the country till the storm has calmed down.
So, was there a moment in all this, even for a second, where you thought maybe I should not have asked this question?
No, but I think I'm very grateful that I'm older because this would have probably been very overwhelming for me if it was my first or second year as a journalist. So I'm grateful that I've had the experience of also working in the United States, where I've witnessed a much more hostile media environment than what we have in Norway. So I'm familiar with that, but I will say that the Indian media is probably one step above the American media when it comes to hostility. At least that's how I evaluate them. Now that I've gotten to know the both of them, I still, yeah, it was definitely on a different level for me. That the media system in general and the X economy on X as well was something different. Yeah.
You have said that Indian media is American media on steroids. That's a very big statement. Unpack that for our audience.
Well, I said this to Supriya in Scroll, and yeah, it is a big statement, but it's also to me, um, it's because of this. Like, for example, today you have CNN and Fox News in the United States, and they both lean clearly to one side, but there's still objective journalism in both those channels. and you'll still have Fox News criticizing the president, or even asking him very tough questions, for example, about HB1 visas. There's a scene where one of the prominent anchors, she's getting upset, like she's saying, well, we do have the talent in the United States, and then he goes, the president, no, we don't. And that's a clear breach of what the viewers and maybe also the Fox News anchors thought the president policies were versus what they had. But in India, it's different, because there seems to me, at least from the way I've gotten to know the Godi media, that there aren't that much direct criticism towards the prime minister himself. But I'm also very open to being corrected. So if you, for example, or anyone else would be like, no, 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 you got it wrong, we're actually Indian media is better than American media, I would be open to being persuaded of that as well.
That raises a very interesting point. You have reached out to Rahul Gandhi for an interview and he never replied. So, if he's watching this video right now, what would you ask him?
Well, right now, actually, I am thinking of Mr. Gandhi, because I've been working all day with Norwegian writing people. Some people on X are like, "Can you go back to reporting on your own country?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am doing that, but I just don't post that on X, because I think the audience on X doesn't really care that much about everything I write about Norway." Anyways, after I logged off at 3:30 p.m. Or 4 p.m. today, I just looked at X, and then I see that he was detained. And that's, to me, shocking that an oppositional leader gets detained for participating in a peaceful protest. And also, I'm wondering, why didn't the Prime Minister of India, does he not worry about the optics of detaining an oppositional leader? Because although I will say, you can argue that no one should be detained in a peaceful protest. That's I think, of course, sometimes the police do have to actually remove people from areas. That's how it is. But detaining is, of course, very different when you detain an oppositional leader, because it's also something about the symbolic of it. And also the amount of people that Mr. Gandhi represents in India. So I am thinking of that incident. But if we move forward to maybe tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, or next month, when hopefully some of this has calmed down and the youth in India have more answers to their demands, then I will say that Mr. Gandhi, he has an open invitation to be interviewed by me. And I'll also fly to India to interview him if he at some point decides that he'll do that. Maybe, hopefully next year.
Speaking of that, right now in Delhi, thousands of students are out with the Cockroach Janta Party's Sansad Chalo movement, demanding the resignation of Education Minister over the exam flaws, and police have responded with tear gas and lathi charges. Does something like this even reaches Norway, or does it dies at the border?
You know what? It has not reached Norway in the way it should. And this is also a little bit of a frustration of mine, because I actually talked to another Indian commentator slash reporter earlier today on her live stream, and I said this, that I do really feel like India has been neglected at the world stage, and that when these things happen in India, they don't get the same type of public acknowledgement that, for example, it would have if it happened in the United States. And I think that's a shame, because India is by far the one of the largest countries in the world naturally, and it is growing in power. Therefore, neglecting India today, the world will suffer tomorrow. So I do think that there's a need for more reporting on India, and I do hope that the interest of the readers will um, come soon so that the media companies will prioritize it, because it's usually that way it goes, sadly, that the public has to be interested in something in order for the media to prioritize resources on it. But one thing with India is that it's a complicated country. As you know, you have like almost 30 languages, maybe even more. You have a completely different religious system. You have still, I will say, um, the caste system lingering in your society. There are so many levels that we are not fully aware of and not really fully able to understand unless you actually studied India, myself included. So I think that's also why it's neglected, because it's difficult to touch upon something we can't truly grasp.
In your view, what's the actual job of a journalist when a powerful country leaders visit? Ask hard question or just document the visit?
Well, this is so people have so many different approaches, but my take is clearly that our job is to try to ask questions, because if we just come and document, we might as well be press officers of the government. So then I could just go work for the government and be hired to take photos and write the press release then, because there is no use for me to be there without asking a question, in unless it's one of those things where we have to see the mood to see if, okay, it's different if it would have been like a hostile meeting where two world leaders that haven't seen each other in ages and a lot of conflicts from the past. Then it could be interesting to follow the body language, etc. But at this meeting, it was definitely necessary to ask a question, and I think that's a journalist's primary job. But then I think we've neglected the fact that also small countries can have some power in the larger scale. So I never thought my question would go all the way to India like it did. And I think also probably the New Zealand reporter was also positively surprised that also her question went back to India, because it does say something about that. Like, okay, you know what? Journalism across borders actually do matter, and our work here is also appreciated by other people than our main target audience. And I think journalism should be that way too.
You have been critical of Norwegian media too, saying journalists go very soft during state visits. Is there a country that you think gets this right?
Yes, I will say the United States and the journalists there have been inspiration for me, because they moderate and do their job in quite a difficult landscape already in the United States. But at the same time, they're also so sharp when, for example, Putin came to Alaska. They're there and they try to shout questions at him too. Um, so I think those types of events, like, they're very good at also the follow-up questions. They don't stop just because they get a answer. If the answer is bad, they'll just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. So I've been very motivated by them in at least my approach to uh, whatabouterism and deflecting answers. And so, yeah, I think they do a good job there. And they have other problems which are more structural when it comes to media companies. But yeah, the reporters and the journalists and the anchors there very much impress me.
Let's do one quick fire round. One word or one line. Modi.
Well, what did you say?
You have
One
to
good
say,
and bad thing? Okay.
yeah,
Well, I think it's very impressive to see how the prime minister really has wanted to develop closer ties with the Western world and want to strengthen that. And it's impressive. All the green technology developments that have happened during him. That's also why the outside Europe, all around the world are looking to India because of the advancement when it comes to green transition. So that's very impressive. And I won't be saying anything bad because I think I already said what I need to say when it comes to press freedom and democracy. But I can repeat that point that uh, I think he needs to start taking questions from the press.
Indian media.
Ooh. Um, these are good questions, by the way. I think positively, I will say that there's so many. I've been very positively surprised by all the independent journalists and the independent outlets that really want to rise to the occasion, seeing the downfall of some of the traditional media channels in India. That's been very inspiring as well, to be able to meet and be interviewed by so many of them. Yeah, negatively, I will just say that I think NDTV needs to do a better job. We go way back now.
Press freedom.
Press freedom in the world or press freedom in India?
In India.
Okay. Well, of course, press freedom in India is under attack, and it has been for years. So that's obviously the negative side of that. The positive side is that there's a lot of people fighting for the right for press freedom, so it has a good chance of um, second coming, that it'll come back even stronger, hopefully soon.
Trolls.
What did you say?
Trolls.
Trolls. Oh,
Yeah.
internet trolls.
Yes.
Negatively, they spread a lot of fake information. Positively, some of it really makes me laugh.
Fame.
Ooh, the positive side of someone or suddenly a larger group getting to know you is that suddenly your opinion matters on a larger scale, which has been really nice. And suddenly your work matters to more people and reaches more people, which is a privilege. And the negative side is, of course, the nasty comments and the hatred, and that suddenly you're getting called at 3 a.m. by someone that wants to call you a slut and stuff. So not the greatest way to wake up in the middle of the night.
My last question to you is that if you could leave one message for young Indians who want to become journalists but are scared of the backlash that you faced, what would you tell them?
Well, I think it's even more difficult when you're in India if you're worried about the backlash because you'll be in India. So you can't log out of India. You are there. I can log out of India because I'm not there, and India is not focus area in Norwegian politics. So this is kind of more like I wouldn't call it a side hobby at this point, but it's a side interest. Whereas if you're a young journalist in India, it'll be your job, your occupation, and it's also going to be your life because your family and friends will follow your coverage. Some may not agree with what you're writing. Some might, you might lose friends, you might lose family ties. Politics can do that for families across the entire world. And especially when you're a journalist, I met people in the United States that have difficult relationships with their families because of the polarization of politics in general. And so I think journalism it's a job, but it's also such a personal choice because especially in environments like this. But I wouldn't let it encourage you, because if you really want to report or comment and feel like you have a valuable message or have a unique way of telling stories, or that you're great at asking questions, you have to follow that passion and see where it takes you. And especially what's great is that there seems to be room for even more independent media when the traditional media works this way. So I think that it's a great place to build newer ways of doing journalism. I'll say, for example, the peak TV and unedited media. There are two kind of like young Gen Z hubs like yourself, but who are very much journalism focused. And I see them really going far. They seem to have kind of found a way to engage and make news interesting for the younger audience. And now that I know you guys, I'm very excited to follow you as well.
Helle Lyng, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your experience with honesty and taking us beyond the headlines. And thank you so much for watching this episode. If this conversation made you think, question, or challenge your own perspective, share it with someone, because democracy grows stronger when you ask questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ekta.